Hello, today's Pokemon review is on Umbreon. This is the battle figure released by Jazwares / PoKeToy and the figure is articulated. Umbreon retails for $6.99 and the battle figures are typically 3 inches in size. On the back we see the other figures released alongside the Umbreon, including Espeon and Lucario, both of which I'm going to be doing reviews on next. So if you don't want to miss out on those reviews, make sure to hit that subscribe button and that notification bell so you know exactly when I upload. Let's have a more detailed look at Umbreon with a 360-degree spin. Little disclaimer just before I start the review, Umbreon is my all-time favourite Pokemon, so I might be a little biased when I'm doing this review, and that's because typically any Umbreon merchandise that comes out I'm gonna like because the merchandise is for my favourite Pokemon. But having said all that, I still think this Umbreon figure looks absolutely amazing. So this is a very nice sculpt of Umbreon. You can see the figure looks exactly how you'd expect an Umbreon to look. And the pose of the Umbreon figure is a very dynamic one. So I really like the sculpt of this. I think they've done an excellent job, especially with the face and that open mouth expression on it. Paintwork wise, the figure is made out of black plastic, so the only real painted parts are on the inside of the mouth, the eyes and the yellow rings. On those parts you can see they've done a really good job in the paintwork. On the inside of the mouth you can see the individual teeth and the tongue. You've got those really bright crimson red eyes and all the yellow rings are very nicely painted in. You can see on the ears, the tail and each of the legs. There's no blemishes in any of the paintwork, so really happy with the paint job on this figure. Underneath we get a huge string of numbers here, no idea why that's there. But on one of the back legs you get that S4 logo showing that this figure is still from their series 4 line of figures. You get 5 points of articulation on this figure, so you get a swivel joint in each of the legs, so each leg is able to rotate around a full 360 degrees. I would have probably liked one extra joint in each of the legs, or I would have liked articulation in the tail and the ears, which we don't get. But having 4 points of articulation is still enough for this size of a figure. Last point of articulation comes in the head, which is not on a full ball joint, but you can see it's on a modified half ball joint. Now that still does provide a huge range of motion. So if we were to tilt the head all the way up, you get to about this pose. And you can go down to about this level where if you weren't a big fan of the open mouth expression, you can display him like this, and from front on you can't really see his open mouth. So this is the full up and down range of motion you get. And you can also rotate around obviously a full 360 degrees. And as well as that, we do get quite a bit of range in the side to side motion. So this ball joint, I would have preferred a full ball joint, but I think you get more than enough range of poses that you can do with this modified half ball joint. So overall I think with the amount of range you can get, I'm happy with this joint on the head. So now comparing the Umbreon to the Tommy articulated Umbreon that came out before it, you can see the biggest difference between these two is in that mouth expression. On the Tommy you've got that expressionless look. I think with the Tommy you get this really flat looking face and it almost looks like a typical alien type look. So not the biggest fan of that. I think compared to the Jazwares, which has a much more defined facial structure to it. Looking at him from the side, you can see the big difference in size between the two. I think the Jazwares is about probably 1 inch bigger than the Tommy figure. So the question is, which one of these two is the better figure? For me, I think that's a difficult one. I think both of them are excellent Umbreon figures in their own right. But if I had to choose between one of them, I'm probably going to lean towards the Jazwares figure, because I like the fact that it's slightly bigger, and I'm a big fan of the open mouth expression on this figure. And then if you look at it from this side, you can see that the Jazwares is in a much more dynamic pose as compared to the neutral looking pose of the Tommy figure. Here's a closer look at the mouth expression between both figures, and you can see with the Tommy one, it's just basically one black line for the mouth, whereas you get the full detail of the tongue and the teeth, etc. on the Jazwares figure. Size wise, Umbreon stands at 2¼ inches tall to the top of the head, and to the top of the ear it's about 3 inches. And then from the side, from the tip of the nose to the end of the tail, we're looking at about 3 inches. And then front on, he's just about over 1 inch in length. So here's a look at Umbreon alongside the other 4 evolutions that have been released by Jazwares so far. And you can see all 5 of them look really nice alongside each other. Now one thing I did notice is if you look at the Jolteon, Vaporeon and Flareon, they all actually have an open mouth expression. It's not as obvious as it is on the Umbreon figure, but they still all have one. The only figure that doesn't is the Espeon figure. And I don't think you'd expect an Espeon to have an open mouth expression, because it is a psychic Pokemon, so typically it doesn't use his mouth as often. So I think not having an open mouth expression on Espeon fits well with the actual character. Here's a look at the evolutions alongside one of the Eevee battle figures, and you can see they all work well in terms of relative sizes to each other. So now all we're missing is Leafeon, Glaceon and Espeon to get a full set of the evolutions. I think everyone is looking forward to getting a Leafeon and Glaceon figure, because the previous Tommy Articulate figures gave us all the evolutions apart from Leafeon and Glaceon. So those are the two that I'm really looking forward to get. Obviously I also want an Espeon as well, so we get the full set of evolutions. So guys, that was my review of the Jazwares Umbreon Battle Figure. Overall, I think this is an excellent Umbreon figure. I'm a huge fan of the open mouth expression. I love the dynamic pose that it's in. And overall, I think it's probably the best Umbreon figure of this size today. So I highly recommend you pick this figure up. Now going closer in on that open mouth expression, if you look at myfigurecollection.com, you can see there's about 45 different Umbreon figures on there. And one thing you know is that each of these figures all have virtually the same facial expressions. So for example, with the Pokemon Scale World Umbreon figure, you can see it has an expressionless look to it. Next example is the Funko Umbreon. A good dynamic pose here, but again expressionless face. Now this is a Candy Umbreon figure, very tiny 1-inch figure which I've been looking out for quite a long time. It has the closest looking pose compared to the Jazwares figure, but again it has that closed mouth expression. This is the Shodo Umbreon figure which has all sorts of articulation on it. I do have this figure, it's just I haven't unboxed it yet, and I'm really looking forward to reviewing that one, but again its face has no expression on it. So as you can see, with all of these Umbreon figures, they all have the same facial expressions, so the Jazwares having that open mouth expression makes it different, and I for one am a big fan of it. Next up, I will be reviewing the Jazwares Espeon battle figure. So if you don't want to miss out on a detailed review on Espeon, make sure to hit that subscribe button and that notification bell so you know exactly when the video is uploaded. If you liked that video, hit the thumbs up, and if you'd like to see more Pokemon toy reviews, hit that subscribe button now. Now go back and watch all my other videos, and I will see you all next time. Bye.